So for my next video, I wanted to talk about the role of a sense of humor can play, or humor in general can play in recovering from OCD, anxiety, depression, panic disorder. I want to preface this by saying that having suffered with these conditions for the last 21 years, I know that there's nothing funny about the problems that they cause or the havoc that they wreak on your life. So let's get that out there right now. And I'm not trying to intimate in any way, shape, or form that humor, you can laugh your way through these illnesses and, everything will be okay. Absolutely not. So I'll just get that out there right off the bat. But having said that, over the last 21 years, I don't know if I'd even still be here if I hadn't been able to keep my sense of humor about some of the things that have gone on. And humor has been an instrumental part of me getting through some of the tough times, and also and actually some of the therapy that I've done in order to recover from some of these illnesses. So anyway, for full disclosure, I've always been somebody whose default was humor. I think I learned to do that in my family growing up, especially when things were going poorly. I was the one who would be, who would make the joke. I was the one who would make people laugh and keep things light. So, that's just for full disclosure. But I wanted to talk about some of the times that for each of these conditions that humor has played a role in helping me to get past some of these things, or at least get through some of these things. Because again, humor alone is not going to be an effective treatment for any of these conditions, not by itself. But when in particular, when my health anxiety has been very bad, I've had some pretty funny things happen that have helped me to see exactly, how far my actual mind is from reality when it comes to assessing my health. I remember when I was obsessed that I had a muscle wasting disease. I was worried that I had either had ALS or MS, because I do have benign fasciculation syndrome, and the muscle twitching is very unnerving. But one of these times, I had some shoulder pain, and I went to my primary. Anyways, they arranged to have some x-rays done. So, I'm thinking, oh boy, they're going to tell me, that, they see that my muscles are atrophying or whatever it was. I was, pretty convinced that it wouldn't be good news. So then to make this even worse, I'm having the x-ray done, and the normal technician is not able to get a good shot on the x-ray. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I knew it. I knew there was something going on. They're probably going to tell me, this is happening, that's happening. So the head tech comes in, and I asked her the question. I said, what am I, some kind of anatomical anomaly, or what? Why did you need to come in here? She says, no. She goes, you just have so much muscle. It's tough for us to get a good shot. And at that moment, I had to laugh at myself, because I'm telling you, when I went in there, I'm thinking, muscle atrophy. I'm thinking all these things. And now they're telling me that they can't get a good shot because of the amount of muscle I have. So, that was just one of those times when, with health anxiety that, I kind of am like, okay, all right. And I also had times when both my wife and my oldest daughter would, in a very comical way, reassure me with my health anxiety that, I wasn't, cashing out, or that what I thought I was seeing, I wasn't seeing. I remember one time I was standing on my legs a certain way and, my daughter just looked at me like, Dad, really? No, you look fine. So at least that's the PG version of what she told me. And, and it helps because it gives some levity to it. And it helps you to realize that this is your condition. This is a mental health condition. And as horrible as it is, it doesn't have to do with, your actual physical health like you've convinced yourself that it does. Another funny anecdote, I was my primary doctor when I was, not treated well for the anxiety yet. I was, again, I was convinced that, I said, so am I cashing out? I said to him, and he goes, no, he says, you'll die slowly like me, and it was, I remember that, he was, he thought it was funny that I said that. So, especially like I said, when you have anxiety, especially if you have health anxiety, some of the things you'll think are so crazy. And if you take a step back and listen to yourself, you'd be like, okay, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. But sometimes it's good to have somebody say that to you. It's good to have somebody tell you, that what you're thinking does not line up with the facts. And let's see. Yeah, so, oh yeah, another funny one was I went to, again, every year I have a physical, like I think everybody should. And, I'm always braced, even, if I'm doing well with my mental health, I'm always braced for them to tell me something terrible. Especially the older you get, the more you're like, oh, here we go, what's going to happen here? And I always tell my wife, oh, be prepared. And my wife gives me a hard time. And about 2 years ago, I thought maybe she called the doctor to set this up because, I asked him about my blood work, and he says, I hope you have a really good retirement plan because you're going to be here a while. Now, obviously, the doctor can't say with any certainty that any of us are going to be here that long. But obviously, also, my blood work was really good. And I'm always waiting, like I think a lot of us with anxiety are, for, the next the next terrible thing to be, the next terrible news, whatever it is, whether it's regarding us or a loved one or world events, whatever. You're always waiting for the next shoe to drop. So those are some funny things that, I've had especially with health anxiety. But in general, anxiety, to get through it, it does pay to have a sense of humor. And if we do this, we can take something. What it can do is it can give us a little bit of levity, even if it's just for a short time. And, those fight or flight chemicals, you feel like you're being chased by a bear, right? You feel the same chemicals are being released. If you're having panic attacks, those same chemicals are being released. So anytime, and this is, again, you guys can do the research on this. When we expose ourselves to laughter, to humor, it really helps quell those fight or flight chemicals, even if it's just for a minute, even if it's just for a short time. So, I encourage anybody with anxiety, panic disorder, anything like that to, to not forget about this fact that it's, excuse me here, I got to put on my glasses. It's one of the joys of being in my 5th decade on this planet. I just want to make sure I don't forget anything. Oh yeah, I can see now. It's awesome. But again, to reiterate though, anxiety does not it's not funny, right? I'm not trying to say anxiety should be funny. It's not funny at all. But, if you, the key with using humor, for anxiety is in getting your mind engaged in something other than worry. And humor can do this. Sometimes very well, humor can snap us out of a line of thought that where we're catastrophizing or doing what if thinking. You might notice it too. I noticed certain things. If somebody could get me laughing, if they could actually get me engaged, it always really helped with my anxiety and some of my other mental health issues. And so with that in mind, I just want to mention, I'm just going to touch on these. I didn't want to make a long video. It's probably already a little longer than I meant to make. But as far as depression goes, I think if you are depressed, but you're maybe starting to recover, I think whether it be your favorite stand-up comedian or whether it be a funny movie, something lighthearted, I think that can help boost you if you're already starting to recover. Now listen, if you're deeply clinically depressed, it might have no good effect at all. It could even make you feel worse because you're not laughing and you normally would. So this is something that is going to be more beneficial with depression as you're starting to recover. But again, I have found so often that, as I'm getting better, I come from a family, there's a lot of humor in my family. And, there has to be, right? Life is hard. So if you can't laugh at it, then, things can get really serious and be really depressing all the time. So, anyways, that's the way I would say it can affect depression. And again, your brain chemistry is improved through laughter. This is something study after study shows. So even if it's just one joke that makes you giggle a little, it might be improving your brain chemistry. And we need all the help we can get when we battle these mental health issues. Finally, just very briefly, I've mentioned I did a short video on it, and I mentioned in my introductory video as well, I believe. I spoke about intrusive thought OCD. This is something that can really be used effectively when it comes to intrusive thought OCD, humor, because again, those thoughts that you have, they're terrible, but if you can attach something humorous to them, it can help you to relabel it as OCD instead of, generating that fear of that horrible thought when you're thinking, oh, it's something I'm thinking, it's something I'm thinking. If you relabel it, and that's a big part of getting better from intrusive thought OCD anyways, sometimes humor can really, really help you relabel something, because again, the things that are playing on a loop in your mind with the intrusive thought OCD are things that you'd never do. In fact, they're things that are, the antithesis of anything you'd ever dream of doing. So if you can attach something humorous to them, it can really help you. It helps you to separate it from being you. It helps you to identify it, and identify the thought as OCD. And this was instrumental as well in getting better from intrusive thought OCD. So I just wanted to mention that. Intrusive thought OCD is really its own animal, and OCD in general is its own. That is a longer video that I will probably do in the future. But it's as far as touching on the humorous aspect here, I just wanted to touch on it and how it is actually a very effective way to do the cognitive therapy, the relabeling of these intrusive thoughts. So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. Humor is, I think, a really good thing to have in your back pocket when it comes to dealing with these mental health issues. I think that you have to be able to laugh at yourself. I think it's really important, especially when so much of what you're thinking, if you actually break it down, whether it's the depression, whether it's anxiety and the things that we're worried about, or whether it's intrusive thought OCD, so many of these things, they're not logical, right? They're our brains basically torturing us, and things are out of whack. So any time that you can use humor to help you to realize that, or to even just get your mind engaged on something else. If you can get your mind to focus on anything other than these mental health issues, it's going to help. It's going to be therapy. Trust me, that's been my experience for the last 21 years. And, I want to do a video because, again, I think it's good to laugh. I think it's important to laugh. These aren't funny conditions, but getting better, I think you're going to need a sense of humor to get through this. I know I have, and it's really helped me. So that's about all I wanted to say. Again, guys, thanks so much for the engagement, for liking, sharing, subscribing. I'm really grateful for all the support that I've gotten. And, thank you so much. And until my next video, take care.